This is the Tyneside Vagabonds endurance test, the start of it from the Haymarket, Newcastle. That's Lord Armstrong's monument outside Hancock Museum, and it's 1962, and it's an endurance test which covered over 100 mile, went from the Haymarket, Newcastle, up to Wooler Youth Hostel where they had their lunch break, and you had local club members from different clubs. They made up their own teams, you know, half a dozen or so riders from each club, and it was just an early season event. It wasn't a race, and they set away at 8:30 in the morning, and they would go off at 2 or 3 minute intervals so they wouldn't all end up the road together, or the traffic, even that you didn't have much traffic in them days, the early 60s. And this is the first group away, which were from Felon, the Felon Road Club, I think. There's a chap taking the cine of them with a trilby on, and if you notice the road's very quiet, with it being a Sunday morning. It's the next club coming up. This is the County Wheelers. They're defunct now, they don't exist. A lot of the clubs in them days have now changed names, or they don't exist. That's the Haymarket before now the new motorway, and it's totally different.
It's the motorway.
There's the Siesta House, or Chapman's, the furniture company on the right, that big building, and to the left of that, which it'll pan round to shortly, is the Hancock Museum. That's Bob Johnson, one of the officials, now lives at Wickham. That's a black. There's Simmy Hood in the blue. That's the lad I was telling you about, that was with him. Simmy, the little lad in the blue. This is the Tyneside Valley Cycling Club, it's their members. And the Tyne Velo, the little lad in the middle there, Michael McSkimmons. I was out with him on Sunday, he's in the Tyne Velo now. There's Willis, Crusher Willis used to call him, used to come up every day. Keith Heppel, Keith now lives in Canada. Having a good life over there, he says. There's Rochester, Trevor Rochester lives at Greenside. And this is actually it's not the Tyne Valley, it's actually the Tyne Velo Cycling Club with Keith Heppel and Willis. There's Simmy Hood Newcastle Road Club, this one is, with a local cycling club. There's Simmy going to put a bit more wear in his tyre, I think. There's John Sutcliffe, he went on to be an international racing cyclist, rode the Tour of Morocco for the Cheviot. Now he's in the Tyne Velo and lives at Winlayton. If you notice, the clothing's totally different to what they wear these days. They just used to wear sweater and trousers, ordinary trousers cut down, and a pair of socks. You notice they didn't have hats and that on. And later on you notice a lot didn't even have gloves or mud guards, and they end up riding in some atrocious weather as the weather changes. At the moment it looked okay, it was dry, a bit dull but dry. There's this, that's the Barnesbury Cycling Club. The lad in the green at the front, Tom McGuire, went on to be national schoolboy champion. The little lad at the very front there in the green. Notice they've got bags on their back, they call them mozettes. They don't do that now, they're pockets back in their back pockets and have all this thermal clothing. And this Burkhouse and Gore-Tex, they all ride with Gore-Tex tops now. There's Bill Wright from the Tyne Olympic. That was the lad I saw earlier in the cyclo-cross, and quite a good, he won quite a lot of races at road racing on the open road. That's the Tyne Olympic. Trilby's in this event. Don't make them laugh. This could be the early birds. That was another name. That club doesn't exist now. In total there must have been over 100 riders. That's a view of the Haymarket of St Thomas's Church at the bottom. There's someone having a problem with a flat tyre. They're changing the tyre. They were called tubulars instead of the tyre and tube. It was all incorporated in the one. It was known as a tub or a tubular. The inner tube stitched inside the tyre. It means you can get more pressure in it. Get 100 pounds to the square inch in them tyres, you know, and it's easier for riding, less road friction or road resistance. There's a group coming through Gosforth now. There's one or two of them getting together there. I think the group grows larger. They're supposed to keep it. Watch him crashing, hit the back wheel. Poof. You can imagine that, not watching where he's doing. They go off at minute intervals, and look at that. They've joined already just out of Gosforth Park. And there's quite a lot up the road as well, but they'll split up later on. You see, it go off in small groups, and it'll not, not be a hazard to the traffic. This is dropping down to where towards Paperhoff, I think, around that area. The ford, but there's no water in it, so they're okay. They can get across. Ford's not flooded. This one is. That's another crossing. That's in between Todburn and Garley. There's quite a few crossings. And there's a little bit of snow at the side of the road. That's an omen, I think. When there's snow in the dike, there's more to come. It's only because I've seen the film before. Another problem, flat tyre. Now you know who your friends are. That lad there, that was is known as Les the Bodger. He's got a place at Swarwell and he does cars up. And he's noted. And that's his nickname, Les the Bodger. Bodge anybody's car up. That's out Rothbury, Cragside, the steep going over to New Moorhouse Crossroads, where you're leaving Cragside. There's quite a few stiff climbs. You've come out of Rothbury, you've dipped down to Cragside, the main entrance, Cragside Hall. Now the weather's changed, but he wish he had brought his hat. Now you know why it's called an endurance test. See, no gloves, bare hands, no hat. He's got a hat and gloves. He's knowing what the weather was going to be like. You'll see, and if you take it with you and put it on, you can always take it off. That's going over to Alnwick, over the top, onto Clearport. It climbs over between New Moorhouse Crossroads from the Wooler Road in Alnwick towards Alnwick, and you drop down Clearport into Alnwick, and we'll go over the Lions Bridge next to the Alnwick Castle. That's Denton Cycles van, backup van in case anybody has a problem. But the weather looks really bad there. It's not pleasant at all to ride in. He's got his sleeves rolled up. He must be young. Normally when the weather's cold, you know, it affects you quicker. You're more likely, as we say, would blow up because you're using energy to keep warm, not just pedal the bike. You're using a lot of energy just to keep warm. And normally you can take a right packet, that's another slang for slowing and being very tired. Now that lad there's out the Tyneside Valley, the Tyne Valley. Now the lad in the middle, he works actually in Brotherswater, at the bottom of Kirkson Pass, and he was one of the top fellas for the National Trust. But I was just talking to someone over there last year and they reckon he's died. Geordie Atkinson, you called him, in the Tyneside Valley. And that little lad there's Kenny Murtough, who works for the GPO, the one in the red there. This is the Two Lions Bridge down from Alnwick Castle. Which is home of the Duke of Northumberland. Also he owns Home Park. They're on their way to Wooler Youth Hostel now for their lunch break. As you see, there was a big group earlier on, but they've now split up. As the going gets harder, I thought I knew him, I'm not sure who he is. If you stick together in a small group, it's easier because you give each other a spell on the front into the wind, and you get use 25% less energy if you're in a group sitting in than if you're on your own at the front. And there's a mixture of riders. There's Newcastle Road Club and the Tyne Valley and the Tyne Below. They all clocking in to get their checkpoint. You've got to get their cards marked to prove that they've completed the course. There's checkpoints and they get their little cards signed, and then carry on again. Stop you making any shortcuts or putting the course in anyway. There's Keith Heppel and out the Tyneside Vagabonds. Keith's brother was quite a good rider, Derek Heppel. He had the yellow jersey in the Tour of Britain at one time. There's Maguire, the lad up the National Schoolboy Champion. Quite a good rider. Tommy Maguire called him. This is Michael Max-Skimmins. He's in the Tyne Below. I was actually out with him on Sunday. Michael, he's a rep for a big glove company, and he travels to Denmark and Norway. He goes away every other month. Got quite a good job, Michael. He likes his work. He's always abroad, and he's still cycling, but he misses his cycling when he's away. No hand signals. And this is quite a nice shot. Now here they actually leave North Charlton and they go across. That's those areas I was telling you about, you know, the police areas. I've been to the top of there. That's across to Chillingham Castle, in Ross Castle. At Chillingham, where the wild herd is, you know, the Chillingham cattle. It's quite an undulating crossing. As I say, a nice place to go to work. I quite enjoyed it actually. On top of the masts but this road you've got to watch. If you get into the deep snow, you can have a problem. You can end up coming off your bike, more so on the descent. Now this is a heck of a descent down here. It's quite steep. I was told just lately that the chap at the bottom was a German prisoner of war stationed up here when as a prisoner, and he got on for the Forestry Commission. And he's actually done all the local walks around about and maintained the paths. And he's really thought a lot of, and he's still there, and he would never go back to Germany. He's got a lovely bungalow there, and his hobby's winemaking. Now that's the hostel at Wooler. The lunch break, you have about half-hour stop. There's the officials coming in with a pop or the prefect. There's Robin Phillipson of the Tyneside Valley. We used to call him Happy Harry. He's a draftsman at Vickers Armstrong's, and he does a lot of squash, and his other hobbies is jogging now. When you reckon you're soaking wet, there's no means of getting dried out. The only thing that dries you out is the elements, the sun and the wind. And if you don't get that, you're riding damp clothing on all the time. It's not very pleasant. Also, if it's windy and cold, you get the wind chill. The harder you blow your tyres, it's easier to ride because it makes a big difference. If you've got flat tyres, it's hard to pedal on flat ones. It's easier if your tyres are hard. This is them leaving again. Just that lad at the front, Derek Ray, he worked for the GPO for the Gateshead National Flower exhibition thing that was on. He was one of the top harriers there, and he just died last year. Derek Lear, top man for the GPU, and worked at the National Flower exhibition at Gateshead. This is another checkpoint. Now they're coming, I would think, towards there's Michael Mascummins there in the Tyne Velo getting checked in. I think they're round by Hettle towards Billsmoor. This is where they are coming round here, and then they'll go along there and over Billsmoor. This is Billsmoor here. So you're climbing, there's Ron Summers away on his own, he's in the Tyneside Vagabonds. This is Pete Emerson, who was in the Vagabonds, he now lives in Australia. Peter, he emigrated, an engineer. Now well strung out up here, like. But it's quite a climb up Billsmoor, and they drop down to Elston from there. Here's some wise lads. The lad in the maroon jacket, he was a policeman in Newcastle for a few years. Don't know what he's doing now. You recover if you do a bit walking, if you're really hammered, and if you eat a bit and walk a bit, you can, on these sort of things, early on in the year when you're cold and hungry and tired, you can pull around a bit if you rest yourself, charge your batteries up, and you can get going again. This little lad had a problem with himself, I think, but he was game, you know. Just a little lad he was. He used to do all the rides. There's the organisers giving him a cup of tea. I think they felt sorry for him. Lived at Rettington, Gateshead. Starting to sleet or snow again. Lad at the back with a red tail on his jersey is Ray Ward. He's a good rider up this way. Ray died. He got killed in Kenton Bar the other about 10 years ago. This is over Otter Cops. The locals always call it Otter Caps, but it's Otter Cops. We always known it as the Caps, but it's Otter Cops actually. It's that little lad again on his own. But the weather was really bad in this event, like, and it did again later on. It cleared up again as you get nearer to Newcastle. It brightens up, and this is them at Capheaton. It's the snow's gone, it stopped raining, it stopped snowing, and this is the last checkpoint before the Haymarket where they finished. And see, cycling's like, it's like knocking your head against the wall. It's great when you stop. So I see the checkpoint next to the post office at Capheaton. Little lads getting in with a group there, you get a bit of shelter. See, some of them have lights on, you know, because they could, if they have a problem, there's nobody waiting, you know, you've got to look after yourself. They use the jack system. Sometimes you'll pair up and you'll stick together in pairs if you have trouble. You can snap frames and wheels and cranks. It's a bit of a problem if you're in a snowstorm and you've got to end up walking. I've seen us walk over the caps in a blizzard. That's the Tyneside Valley, or the Tyne Valley as you would know, up by the club rooms are up at Brighton. There's Kenny Murtoff, the little lad. There's the lad that was the head ranger for the National Trust in the middle there, Atkinson. Lived at Brothers Water in bottom of Honostaff Pass. And that's the row of cottages at Capheaton.